welcome to another creative podcast, where creative outcasts come together to share their stories so we can all feel a little less lonely. I'm your host, Janelle Marquez. Hello, welcome back to another episode. I'm so excited that we're so close to episode 10. 10 episodes. I am really hoping that by episode 10, I sound a lot better. If you do not want to hear someone's voice who sounds a little bit strained / nasally / congested, I would suggest skipping this episode. I have tried putting off filming this episode due to my voice just not being where I would like it to be, but I've been recovering from like a 4-week illness and the voice is just not there, but the podcast must continue, so I would not be offended if you skip this episode. Or if you kind of like this voice, then maybe really watch this episode. Anywho, this is an episode I have been wanting to film since I started the podcast because this is something I often talk to people about, like what things bug you and what are your icks on social media. I just have kind of put this off because it is quite a negative conversation, but it's also me kind of spilling the tea on like my honest raw thoughts on what are my social media icks. And so I thought, what the heck, we're close to 10 episodes, I might as well just touch on it. And mind you, a lot of the things that bother me are usually trendy things, and I'm also somebody who like creates content, so there are just a couple things that bother me because of the job that I'm in. But without further ado, let's get into what my social media icks are. The first thing is a mistake and an ick at the same time. It's something I see people commonly do online, and I know so many of you guys are with me, but I cannot stand when I see someone put a link in an Instagram caption. So let's say you're trying to raise money, and I most commonly see this when people are trying to spread the word about a GoFundMe and a cause that needs money. It bothers me so much that people always put the link in the caption. In case you are one of these people who does this, I need you to know, you cannot click a link in an Instagram caption. It's just not a thing. So please stop doing this. Please. And if you're someone who just continues to do this, I don't think you should be on social media, because after you post the content, how do you not see that you cannot click on that link? I don't know. This is just one of those that just really irks me. If you're someone who does this and you would like to fix this problem, always direct people on where to click the link, whether that's in your Instagram stories, and most importantly, your bio. You should have a link in your bio to direct people towards. That's the best way to solve this. This second one is more of a me problem than it is people doing social media wrong. But my next ick is when people are editing videos and posting them, but the fonts that they're using are not easy to read, whether it be the type of font they chose or the color they chose. I hate nothing more when I see someone having text or captions that I just can't freaking read because either the font they chose is wrong or the color is too bright or blends in with the background. Just stop doing that. I would love to engage with your content, but if it's hard for me to even see what you're trying to put out there, you lost me. You lost your girl. This next one is more of a personal preference, but it always gives me the absolute ick. And that is when someone is filming on a DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and they're using the face tracking feature. I see a lot of content creators do this all the time, and they'll be filming a video just like how this podcast is filmed, where I'm just sitting on this couch talking to you guys, and the person will be sitting there not moving whatsoever, and they have the face tracking feature. So the DJI Pocket Osmo 3 camera, such a long name for a camera, this specific camera sits on a gimbal, so when you have the face tracking feature and you move slightly, the camera just moves just an inch, and it continues to do that. And I absolutely cannot stand when people are doing this, because if you are just sitting there and your head is the only thing that's moving, I don't need this feature on. It always makes me so nauseous and like sick because it's just moving way too much. And it's also just not interesting, and it also just doesn't look very professional in my opinion. In fact, just learn how to use keyframes. It's so much better for your content. This next ick of mine kind of piggies back on another editing situation thing preference that I have, and that is when people are not using the correct dimensions for their platforms. So if you are filming content and you're not using the correct 9:16 that like Instagram and TikTok use, and it like slowly cuts off at the top, or you post an Instagram story that's also not by 9:16 and it's like 5:4. Also, in case you're new here, Instagram did update their dimensions from 4:4 to 5:4. And it's also going to be updated to 9:16 at some point, but I've seen them pull that feature on and off. Long story short, stop using square photos on Instagram. We have moved past that. Use the correct dimensions. And this is also really big if you're looking to capture people's attention on social media, is using the correct dimensions and really maximizing as much of the screen as you can on someone's feed. That does wonders for you. So make sure you are using the correct Instagram dimensions. Especially in 2025, there's no excuse to not be doing so. You can even change like the dimensions to your photos on your iPhone. Like there's a feature to just go edit your photo and change the dimensions to exactly what you need it to be. And these are just things I'm particular about just because of the work I do. Keep that in mind. But these next bits are more personal preference. Like for example, another ick of mine are meme accounts. I can't stand a fucking meme account. Sorry, not sorry. I just not into it. This is just content I don't like to consume, but I also absolutely hate when somebody uses their account as a meme account to grow it and then use that following for a whole other reason. I get that people need to grow some way, but that is not a good way to grow your account. Meme accounts are funny and appropriate depending on what you're into, but I personally don't mess with meme accounts. I think they're annoying. I think they are like rage baity, and a lot of the times they're also just like spam accounts. So I really don't care for them. I don't really engage with them, and I don't follow any. So actually, I do follow a meme account, but I don't think they know they're a meme account, but they are. Or maybe they do know. I don't know. Once again, this is all personal preference. Kind of pigging back on meme accounts, I really hate follow trains. Follow trains are very popular on TikTok. In the last year, there's been this rise of content surrounding, I want to make content creation my job. So here's day one of me trying to make content creation my job. Follow me for the journey, blah, 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 blah. And then a lot of these accounts who kind of hop on that trend also will do like, it starts with engagement. So follow me and I'll follow you. Comment and I'll comment back. And then it's like a follow for follow, and then you engage with each other, but it's just because you're trying to help each other grow, not because you're genuinely interested in their content. And that is my biggest problem with follow trains, is that a lot of the times follow trains are just to help people get more followers, but you're actually not following them because you like their content and you want to consume and engage with it. It's because you're helping them reach a goal, even though you may not align and agree with the content they post, which at the end of the day is not good for engagement, because you want genuine engagement, especially if you want brands to work with you. They're looking at genuine engagement. The amount of people who follow you just doesn't matter as much as it used to. Truly what matters is your engagement. This next ick of mine is more of a personal preference again, but this one really, really bothers me because I started watching vloggers back in 2013. And one of my favorite vloggers of all time actually filmed with, and most of my favorite vloggers back in the day started off filming with the Canon G7X. I actually got one because of them. And if you've ever filmed with that and you've ever like vlogged with it, you would know that it's pretty up close, it's pretty personal. But I love that look because I feel like that's what vlogs are. They're supposed to be like this personal, intimate, up close look into someone's life. And This next ick of mine is when people are filming with wide angle lenses, but they're standing very far away from the camera. This one really just irks me because I feel like there's appropriate lengths you should be filming in to give off a vibe. Like if somebody's having a sit down talk and they're getting intimate and personal, that camera should be a little bit close. I should be able to see at least some of the pores on your face. But if you're just trying to show what you're doing, a wide angle lens isn't really needed. A wide angle lens is perfect. You want to get up close, but you don't want to feel like you're right up in the camera. I know so many creators who use a wide angle lens, but they sit so far from it to the point where it's why do you even need this? And this only bothers me because there are people who vlog with a wide angle lens and they utilize it so well. They are really good at making you feel like you're right up close with them. And yeah, this is just one of those icks where I'm ugh. For example, if you're watching the YouTube version of this, how I look on screen, I think this is way too far away for me to be talking to the camera if I was filming a vlog. I'm obviously filming a podcast, so I like to have a little bit more room around me. But if I was filming a vlog, I would actually just hold the camera in my hand or be a little bit more closer. And that's just because I want it to feel a little bit personal, a little bit more intimate. Whereas the distance that I'm sitting from my camera doesn't really feel that way, but once again, this is a podcast, so I really try to actually focus more on the audio quality than the video. That is just an example. I've gone on a tangent about this because this is just one of those things that personally irks me. Another thing that personally irks me, and this is such a recent ick, there has been a rise in people using wireless microphones to have a more crisp audio with their crisp visuals. And while I appreciate the effort going into it, I don't want to hear your voice as if it's right up in my ear if you're standing 10 feet away from the camera, because it just doesn't feel natural to be able to hear you so crisp and clearly like you're in my ear when you're standing 10 feet away from the camera. It just doesn't sound good. If anything, I want to hear you further so I know that you walked away from the camera. And this is just a preference because I just am not a fan of people also using very crisp audio that picks up on every ands, ums, t's, like the t or the p. I don't care to listen to all those things in a vlog. It's supposed to be casual. Vlogs are not supposed to be this whole cinematic masterpiece. That's another ick of mine. I feel like people have gotten a little carried away with vlogs being such a big production. At the end of the day, I just want to see what you're documenting and the story you're trying to tell. I don't really care for how great the quality and the color grading of all that, but I'll get into this later. But to make my point, I can't stand when people use these mics and they're standing so far away. Also, another of mine, if we're just going to keep going on this tangent about mics because apparently I can't stop, is when people are using these wireless mics and they're holding it like this. Absolutely not. Clip that thing. I don't even want to see it, if I'm being quite honest. Just clip it, put it away. Another ick of mine is when people don't edit out the dead air in any of their content. I am someone whose brain just moves, and if I, for 1 second, have a moment to not be engaged in your content, and if the silence is not intentional, I will check out and I will look for the next thing. And I have this editing pet peeve where if you are not editing out all the dead air in your videos, in your podcast, I don't want to hear all the in-betweens of okay, so I don't. In fact, I don't even like to hear it for myself. If you guys actually watched what the timeline looks like when I edit my podcasts, if you're watching the YouTube version, I'm going to upload a little screenshot of what it looks like. I cut out so much of the ands, ums, and dead air in all of my podcast episodes because even I cannot stand having that all left in there because honestly, I would check out very quickly. And I don't want my viewers to feel that way. And maybe it doesn't. And to be honest, maybe it doesn't make it that authentic and it doesn't make it that much more natural when it comes to my cadence of speaking. But once again, this is a production I'm putting on, and this is how I want to present my information. So once again, this is just my personal preference. This next one is another editing pet peeve of mine, and this next ick is when somebody is writing a title on like a YouTube video, so like week in my life, and they add a fucking period at the end. Like, what the fuck? This is a title. A title does not need a period. I have never gone to a movie and seen a title on screen that has a fucking period at the end. It's a title. It is not a sentence. So yeah, if you do this, stop. Absolutely stop. It drives me crazy. I watch so many creators who'll be like, Monday, and then they'll put like the actual date and the period at the end. Like, what? Or just Monday with a period. Why? Monday is not a statement. It is a title. I am also not a grammar person, so I don't know if I'm wrong in this argument. If I am, let me be. But this is just a visual thing that I cannot stand. This next one is one that I feel like I might get a little bit heat for, but again, maybe not. But I'm just going to say it. One of my biggest icks, and I probably should have left this one for last. Oh my gosh. No, I'm just going to throw it in there. One of my biggest icks is when people act inauthentic on social media. And I was just talking to a friend about this weekend, about how, like, I get so upset how people are, like, one way on socials and not another in person. But she was saying, like, well, I wouldn't believe everything on social media. Social media's become so fake. Like, it's kind of left to your discretion to believe things or not. So, and I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. But it still bothers me when people show up inauthentically online. And, like, the biggest example of this is when, like, somebody is new to content creation and they adapt the influencer voice. Like, okay, guys, get ready with me. I'm going to do a full face using X, Y, and Z. The other example is, like, business owners when they get in front of content and they kind of put on their Mr. Beast affect. They put on their Mr. Beast voice and they go, hey, guys, what's up? Today we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And in person, you meet them and you're like, you're not this hype. Like, in fact, you're a very chill person. Why are you doing this? These are just things that I can't stand. Like, I truly believe the best people on social media are the ones who show up authentically. I know so many people who I've met them in person who are just as great as they are online. And unfortunately, that's not always the case for most people. But I do want to say that, like, you can show up online just as you are, and that's fine. Because showing up inauthentically will only last you for so long, and the facade will fall, and people will truly see who you are and how you are, and then that damages your credibility. So, once again, I can't stand when people show up inauthentically or are just trying to put on this persona that's not true to themselves just because they see it do well online. This other one is also an ick that, no judgment for trying, but still, when people are new to vlogging or filming content and you catch them constantly looking at the viewfinder, I absolutely cannot stand this. And you can tell where the viewfinder is because they're not looking directly into the camera. If they're looking directly into the camera, you feel like they're talking to you or at you. But when they're looking off to the side constantly, it kind of makes it feel less authentic and less personable. And it makes you aware that this person is filming. And I think the goal to creating good content, especially talking head content, is to look comfortable in front of the camera, and that means making eye contact with the lens and not the viewfinder. I currently am filming this podcast episode with my viewfinder out. I always do. And I have just made the habit of not looking at the viewfinder. I look at it when I'm not speaking, just to make sure I'm recording still, but when I start looking at it to the side, it's very distracting, and you can tell I'm looking at something that's not the camera. Kind of like if you're watching this, I give a little bit of an example just there. But this drives me crazy. I can't, and I notice it so easily. This next social media ick, and once again, this is me being like very particular and picky, and it kind of piggybacks on the inauthenticity ick I have. But it's like people acting like they're in a different tax bracket than they actually are. This also goes with the whole thing of like not everything you see online is true or real, but I think a lot of people like to showcase a lifestyle that looks glamorous and looks very desirable, when in reality that's actually not what their life situation is. And it just kind of cracks me up. But this is also, again, like a personal ick of like, when I do know someone personally and I see them showing up as if they're in a different tax bracket than they actually are, I get a kick out of it. But it just really pisses me off because it reminds me that like not everything you see online is real. And it saddens me how many people deceive their audiences by showing up how they truly are not in real life. But I can't blame people for trying, right? This last ick is one of those that I just feel like there needs to be a little bit more transparency online about this. But this ick is just people using face filters. I feel like we've become very comfortable in this society with using filters, and I get it. If you want to show up on Instagram stories and you want to put on that like cute face filter, if you know exactly what I'm talking about. Almost all the girls use it. But at this point, I don't even know what most people look like because of how often we're filtering our faces. And now with video filters, it's kind of gotten a little crazy. Like, I purchased my Sony ZV-1F in January as a backup camera to have because my Canon G7X was absolutely falling apart and I needed something else. So I got it, and I did not realize that it automatically came with a beauty filter on, and I didn't notice it until about like a week of filming content on it. And when I did, oh my gosh, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And I just realized like I didn't even look like myself, and it just made me realize like, wow, there's so many people out there who are filming content and I actually don't even know what they really look like. And it startled me quite a bit, but that's why it is an ick, because I truly think vlogging is a casual thing. Filming content should be more casual. And it's just with beauty standards and people selling you products all the time, I think when people don't show up authentically or don't look exactly as they do, it's hard to find them to be credible. But that's just my personal opinion. Just like most of this video. All these icks, they're all just my personal opinion. Let me know what some of your social media icks are. I feel like this is such a negative conversation to have. But also, why not shoot the shit? I also apologize for my cussing if you are not into it. But honestly, if you know me personally, I curse like a sailor. And it's not very classy or elegant of me, but it's truly me as a person, and this is just me honestly expressing. Ferris, shut up. This is just me being really honest and raw, and that's kind of the whole point of this podcast. I wanted a place where I could just shoot the shit and just talk honestly, exist honestly online, because I think we need more of that. So I'm trying to be what I wish there was more of. And I think all of us creative outcasts need an outlet like that, whether it's the art that you make or the places you show up in. Isn't this just the whole point of it all? I don't know. But anywho, let's have a conversation in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!